I think of British cars, I think of style, I think of performance, I think of luxury. Just because this one has a hatchback, it's lifted, and it weighs about 4,500 pounds, doesn't mean that it's any different. It's still a Jaguar in its bones, and you can see that just by looking at it. Clean lines, rounded edges, big old 22s with big brake calipers sticking through. Of course, the only reason you need big brakes is because you've got 8 cylinders and a supercharger. And of course, it sounds wonderful. Now this powertrain is not long for the Jaguar world as they move towards electrification and they trade in superchargers for wall chargers. This one makes 550 horsepower, 516 pound-feet of torque, goes 0 to 60 in 3.8 seconds, which is absolutely absurd for an SUV. And we're mated to a ZF 8-speed automatic transmission, which if you're not familiar, that is one of the better automatic transmissions out there. If you decide to shift for yourself, it is very quick on the upshifts. And even more importantly, it's very quick on the downshifts. You've got these nice aluminum paddle shifters here to do that for yourself. If you choose not to shift for yourself, it'll shift at different points depending on what mode you're in. You have a dynamic mode, you have a sport mode, you have an eco mode, you have a comfort mode, and there is an advanced surface management mode, which is actually an option, and that one replaces the snow and ice mode if you decide to option that. In the dynamic mode, actually you can set everything through the infotainment system here. That's the stiffness of the suspension, that's your throttle response, that's your steering. You can set that all through here. And when you go into your dynamic mode, when you go into your sport mode, it will really hold the gears for a long time. It'll get really nice and aggressive. If you do decide to shift for yourself, it will still tell you when to shift, but you can completely ignore that because that looks like it's going for fuel economy, and it doesn't make any sense. Even when you're in sport mode, it'll tell you to shift way too early. And that power is all going through the rear wheels. 100% of the power can go through the rear wheels, with up to 50% going to the front as needed. Now, of course, performance is more than just straight line speed. It's also about handling. And when something weighs 4,500 pounds and has a high center of gravity, you don't expect it to handle well, but it does. The body roll is minimal. It really handles the curves so nicely, so much better than you'd expect. You do get a little bit of lean, and you can feel that lean is higher than it would be if you were in a sports car or something lower to the ground, but it's still extremely confident. In fact, I was out here the other night, there wasn't a whole lot of traffic on the road, and it was kind of dark, so you kind of lose your frame of reference for how high up you are, and you can kind of get lost in feeling that you're in an actual sports car, because it feels like a sports car when you throw it through these corners. Now, of course, it is still a luxury SUV. It is still a Jaguar. It still has an $86,000 starting price. This one optioned almost up to $100,000. It really has to do other things well, and it does. The ride quality is very good despite being on the optional 22s. There are 21s, those are standard. This one has 22s, which means you lose a little bit of the sidewall in the tire. You get a bit of a rougher ride, but it still handles the bumps very well, especially with the adaptive suspension. Some of the bigger bumps you're definitely going to feel, but for the most part it is very floaty. And of course there are other things that you expect to be standard safety features, which you have blind spot monitoring, you have rear cross traffic alert, you have a heads-up display, which is not actually standard, that's $1,000, but it is a very nice heads-up display. It tells you your speed limit, it tells you what speed you're going, it has other traffic sign recognition as well. It even tell you when you're in a do not passing zone. When you're in a dynamic mode, it'll give you your tach. When you're in sport mode, it'll actually tell you what gear you're in, which is a very nice feature. The interior follows the same storyline as the exterior. The seats are stiff and sporty but still very comfortable with power adjustable lumbar support, heated standard and cooled thanks to the hot climate package, which also gives you the cooled glove box to keep your manual from overheating. Materials look and feel premium at the touch points and beyond, with the odd exception of these solid plastic multi-buttons. HVAC controls are consolidated into a single knob for fan temperature and seats. That takes some getting used to, but it does provide physical inputs without taking up extra space. The 11 9-inch infotainment is extremely quick and crystal clear. Dynamic mode setup, rear seat heat, and onboard nav system all live in here. I wish the auto start, stop, and auto hold were their own buttons, but at least they're in the quick access area. And you can customize your setup if you'd like. Android Auto and Apple CarPlay are standard, as is wireless charging and music pumps through either a 12-speaker Meridian sound system or a 16-speaker Meridian surround sound system. The Guage cluster offers a few different view options. I prefer the simple tachometer and speedo layout. Again, the screen is clearer than real life. An optional heads-up display is compact and well done, showing the speed limit, current speed, and sign recognition, as well as your tach and dynamic and sport modes, as well as your gear when you're selecting your own. Rear seats offer 37.2 inches of legroom, plenty for me with the front seats set for me at 5'7", and plenty for me even with those seats set a little bit back from there. Rear facing seats will fit okay, and front facing seats will be totally fine. Heated seats, dedicated vents, and temperature control back here as well. Behind the back seats are a power liftgate, opening up to 31.5 cubic feet of space. Of course, the best feature inside is the view of the outside from the sunroof that goes on for days. The exterior of this one is coated in Velocity Blue, a premium paint option running $4,500, but it looks so damn good. The color contrasts the big red brake calipers upgraded from the standard F-Pace for extra stopping power. These calipers are peeking through optional black or silver 22s or standard 21s. Headlights, taillights, and daytime running lights are all LEDs. I would have liked to have seen some cornering lights at this price point, but visibility is very good at night, and the auto high beams do their job well. And of course, the back end is finished off with quad exhaust. Did I mention it sounds really good?